In a case that has shaken South Africa to its core, the brutal murder of 4-year-old Nada-Jane Challita has left a nation demanding justice. Today, we dive into the chilling details surrounding this very disturbing case, where Lee Hughes, a former preschool teacher, now stands accused of this little girl's murder. What really happened on that fateful day in January 2023? This is the heartbreaking case of Nada-Jane Challita and the unraveling of Lee Hughes. Before her name became a headline, Nada-Jane Challita was simply a little girl with a big smile and a love for animals. Born in Johannesburg, South Africa, on 15 July 2018, to her mother, Amy Louise Johnston Lindley, and father, Lee Challita, who was originally from Lebanon. Amy had always dreamed of becoming a mother and often mentioned how she practically raised her 2 younger brothers. The couple had dated since 2015, and she was overjoyed when she discovered that she was pregnant. And when Nada-Jane was born, it felt like this completed their family. The family cherished their time together, watching Nada grow and exploring the world. They enjoyed gardening, trips to the park, and especially fishing, which was one of Ellie's favorite activities. However, Nada always insisted on releasing the fish back into the water, showing her deep love for all animals from an early age. Sadly, despite their love for each other and Nada, their relationship ended in 2021. Amy had faced several challenges, including losing her job and struggling with her mental health. As a result, it was decided that it would be best for her to move to Cape Town to live with her mother. She felt that she couldn't fully support her child while she was not doing well herself and needed to seek help and take care of her own well-being at that time. Amy and Ellie agreed that Nada would stay with Ellie in Johannesburg. Despite the distance, Amy remained as involved in Nada's life as much as possible. Ellie had a full-time job and needed to enroll Nada in a preschool in Bedfordview. There, he met Lee Hughes, a 21-year-old preschool teacher who would become Nada's teacher. Ellie introduced himself to Amber and mentioned that he had recently become a single father. He explained that it was a significant adjustment as he now had to do everything for his child on his own. One of the biggest challenges was combing and untangling Nada's curly hair in the mornings, which she hated. Ellie shared that Nada would scream so loudly when he combed her hair that he was sure the neighbors could hear her. Amber took a liking to Nada-Jane and began untangling her hair every morning before class started. She started having conversations with Ellie and complimented him on how well he was doing as a single father. She would also send some of Nada's artwork home with hearts all over them. It only took a few weeks for Amber to admit that she started having feelings for Ellie. Ellie, who was around 33 years old at the time, asked her why she would be interested in an older man like himself, and she told him that she just liked older guys. Amber offered to help Ellie babysit Nada when he had to work late or travel for work, and Ellie gladly accepted her offer. As they spent more time together and Ellie saw how well Amber interacted with Nada, their relationship naturally evolved and they began dating soon after. When Ellie shared the news about Amber with his friends, they were thrilled for him, noting that having a preschool teacher as a partner meant Nada would be in safe hands. It wasn't long before Amber moved in with Ellie and Nada, becoming like a second mother to her. She took on responsibilities such as bathing and feeding Nada, and in turn, Nada would comfort Amber by wiping away her tears whenever she was sad. Ellie would go to work every morning while Amber and Nada went to preschool together. However, Amber grew tired of her job and suggested to Ellie that she stopped working. She proposed that she could stay home and teach Nada herself, which would save the money that they were spending on preschool. Ellie agreed, and Amber quit her job to stay home full-time with Nada. Although Amy and Amber never met in person, Amy did not want to interfere in their relationship. They had spoken on the phone, and Amy had asked Amber to take good care of her child. About a year into their relationship, things were not as smooth as they had been initially. Amber, now staying at home full-time, disliked doing chores and would let dishes pile up for days. This meant that Ellie had to handle all the cooking and cleaning after a long day at work. However, the real issue was Amber's jealousy. She felt that Ellie was out of the house too much while she was stuck at home. When Ellie was home, she also believed that he gave more attention to Nada than he gave to her. Amber also thought that Ellie was spending too much money on his daughter. These feelings led to heated disagreements about Nada. Talk about being immature, arguing with someone about being a loving parent. Their arguments became more frequent and intense. During one particularly heated fight in August of 2022, Amber broke the television and several other items in the house. Ellie had to wrestle her away from a circular meat cutter that she was threatening to harm herself with. He asked the gardener to take Nada outside to remove her from the situation. Furious, Amber shouted, "Is that all you care about? Get off me. I will show you how I'm going to kill your child." The couple broke up, and Ellie filed a domestic violence complaint against her with the police, but decided not to follow through on it. They remained separated for a couple of months, and Ellie had re-enrolled Nada in preschool at that time. But they eventually got back together, which was a pattern for them, as they broke up and reunited over 10 times during their year-and-a-half relationship. It was dysfunctional at best. When things were bad, they were very bad. But when they were good, they were very good, and Ellie wanted to hold on to that. In December 2023, Ellie was offered a job in Polokwane and asked Amber to relocate with him and Nada. On the morning of January 23, he planned to search for a new house in the area where his new job was located. Typically, when he traveled far, he would stay overnight with Amber and Nada. But due to tight finances, he decided to make the 4-hour trip and return on that same day. Ellie hoped this move would mark a new beginning for them, never imagining that his life would be shattered by that very evening. On 23 January 2023, Ellie woke up early to make the 4-hour trip to Polokwane. He was ready to leave by 5 a.m. Not wanting to wake Amber and Nada, who were still sleeping, he kissed them both on their foreheads and quietly headed out the door, eager to find a new home for them. A few hours later, Amber woke up, unaware that Ellie had already left. One of the first messages that she sent him was an accusation of not kissing her before he left and leaving without telling her. This led to their first argument over text messages. A short while later, Ellie received a phone call from Amber, who told him that she had cloned his WhatsApp and knew that he had been talking to other women. Ellie explained that he and the woman were only friends, and that if she had truly read the messages, she would realize that. However, this led to a much bigger fight over text message and over phone calls. Amber became hysterical, accusing him of going to Polokwane to meet up with other women. Ellie asked her to please stop, as his first appointment with the realtors was coming up, and he promised they would talk more about it when he got home, and he ended the call. Later she sent him a message saying, "Do you even care that I am sitting here not knowing what to do, and Nada is wiping away my tears with a sheet that we slept under?" To which he replied that he was terribly sorry, and her reply was, "You don't seem sorry at all. It seems like you don't give an F if I left or stayed." And their arguing carried on, again over WhatsApp and phone calls. Amber was furious. She wouldn't let things go, telling Ellie to turn back immediately and come back to Joburg. He told her to calm down, that he would be back later and they would talk about it. But again, Amber would not stop. She went on and on and on over text, with Ellie eventually saying to her, "Stop bombarding me. We will talk about this later." And one of the last calls he received from Amber said, "How could you do this to me? You know what I've been through. You broke my heart and I will burn yours." She then also texted and said, "I'm so sorry. I love you very much." Ellie stated that this made his knees weak and he immediately felt that something was wrong. He tried phoning Amber repeatedly, but she didn't pick up. He sent messages, but she didn't respond. Desperate and 4 hours away from his house and child, not knowing what was going on, he immediately got in the car and started the drive back to Joburg. He tried calling Amber again, but her phone went to voicemail. He left her a message begging, "Please don't hurt the baby. Kill me instead. The baby is innocent." But Amber never answered. Driving back with more than 3 hours to go, Ellie didn't know what to do. He phoned one of his friends to go to his house to check on Amber and Nada-Jane. When the friend arrived at the house, no one came to the gate and the gate was locked. He phoned Ellie and told him that he didn't know what to do. No one was answering and he couldn't gain entry to the house. Ellie told him, "Break down the gate. Do whatever you had to do. Just get into my house," saying, "Do what you could." He only wanted to know whether his daughter was safe. The friend called another friend to help him break down the gate. At the same time, Amber's father arrived at the property with another friend, stating that he couldn't get hold of his daughter. She had previously phoned him to tell him that there had been an accident and that he needed to come help her, but now she was not picking up her phone. Her father tried phoning her again and again and eventually got through to her. Amber stated that she was injured. This prompted them to do everything they could. They broke down the gate and went into the house, where they found Amber lying on the living room floor, naked from the waist down. There were cuts on her hand and wrist, and a few drops of blood on the floor next to her, along with a broken glass bottle. When asked where Nada was, Amber reportedly responded that she had drowned her. He immediately ran to the bathroom, where he found Nada floating face down in the bath with the water still running. He quickly took her out of the bath, placed her on the dining room table, and began performing CPR. Nada was unclothed, cold to the touch, and already turning blue. At one point during CPR, she expelled a pink foam, and her face seemed to turn pink as well. Despite the friend's efforts, he couldn't revive her. He then took her outside, where his friend and Amber's father also attempted CPR, while his wife contacted emergency services. Amber's father stated that he took over CPR from them, as they didn't seem to know what they were doing, and he was doing this while on the phone with paramedics guiding him. He claimed that Nada had brought up translucent fluid and that someone else had felt a pulse on her. During all this time, Amber remained lying on the living room floor and didn't help at all. Nada was taken to the hospital in the back of someone's car because they felt like the ambulance was taking too long to get there. Amber's father went inside, where he saw his daughter sitting on the floor. Later, when the paramedics arrived, they tended to the cuts on her wrist. She then also went to a hospital in the back of an ambulance, but it was a different hospital than the one that Nada-Jane went to for treatment. Ellie was still on the road on his way back. He phoned his friend again to find out what was happening. The friend didn't have the heart to tell him and only told him that Nada-Jane was injured and she had been taken to the hospital. Sadly, when Ellie arrived at the hospital, he was told that Nada-Jane had passed away. He phoned Amy, but didn't have the heart to tell her what had happened. He only told her that there had been an emergency with Nada, and that he would buy a ticket for her and her mother to fly from Cape Town to Johannesburg. He then went to see his daughter, hugged her, kissed her, and told her that he would get justice for her. He knew that this was something that he would have to now live with for the rest of his life. A few days later, with all the evidence and witness statements gathered, Amber was arrested for the murder of Nada-Jane Challita. On 2 February 2023, she applied to be released on bail, but this was denied, with the investigating officer stating that she was a danger to herself and that releasing her would cause public unrest, as they had been receiving numerous calls wanting to know if and when Amber will be released on bail, and that her safety could not be guaranteed. During the bail hearing, the judge stated, "You have opted to remain silent. Though you have a right to remain silent, you don't have to. I find it strange that you sat in a different room and left the child floating in water, with the tap still running. You were aware that the child drowned, but you didn't try to resuscitate her or get any help for her." After more than 2 years, the trial of Amber Lee Hughes began on April 13, 2025. Amber, now 25, stood accused of murder and 2 counts of rape, to which she pleaded not guilty. In her plea explanation, she stated that she had left Nada-Jane in the bath alone to play while she finished her chores around the house, which was not uncommon. Nada would call out to them when her bath water turned cold. Amber mentioned that she checked on Nada at one point and found her still fine. However, later, she tripped over one of the dogs, cutting her hand and wrist on some of the broken glass. She chose to clean her wounds first before checking on Nada again. When she finally returned to check on Nada, she found her floating face down in the bath. Amber also stated that Nada had been too heavy for her to lift out of the bath and that she was in complete shock, unsure of what to do. This next part is difficult to discuss, but it is crucial to emphasize the suffering that Nada had endured. I apologize in advance for the distressing details. If you find this triggering, please skip ahead a minute or two. According to the state, the post-mortem examination of Nada revealed that she had drowned, and there was also evidence of SA. Forensic pathologist Dr. Hestel van Staden testified that the injuries Nada-Jane sustained were inconsistent with an accidental slip and fall into the bath. However, the small scrapes and bruises on her temples and forehead could have been caused by someone pressing down on her head and face. Nada's brain was swollen and filled with fluid due to her struggle to retain oxygen, a typical injury in cases of suffocation or drowning. Additionally, her lungs were enlarged from the inability to breathe underwater. The court also heard graphic details about injuries to Nada's front and backside due to SA. It was revealed that they were old injuries to her backside, but new injuries to her front side that may have occurred only a few hours before her death. These injuries were caused by a foreign object. This evidence places Hughes as the only person responsible, as she was alone with Nada on that day. Amber was scheduled to testify after the forensic pathologist on April 17, 2025, but was unable to do so due to an abscess in her mouth. This resulted in a 7-day delay to allow her to receive proper treatment. When they returned to court on April 24, Amber's lawyer informed the court that Amber still could not testify. The lawyer explained that although Amber had gone to the hospital, the doctor who was supposed to treat her was unavailable, and the other doctor present could not provide the necessary treatment. Additionally, Amber's condition had worsened, and she was now on strong pain medication that made her very drowsy. The lawyer also mentioned that detainees could only visit a doctor on Wednesdays, which would further delay Amber's testimony. Consequently, the judge decided to postpone the trial until May 8, 2025, to ensure that she received the appropriate treatment. Amy and Ellie appeared at court together and were interviewed afterward, saying that they were frustrated with the delay and that there seemed to be too many rides for criminals. Amy stated that all she had wanted was for Amber to start facing the hard questions and that only she knows the answers. They also stated that they missed their daughter every day, but that the tragedy had brought them back together, and that they had now reconciled, and that they now only had each other to lean on. Upon their return to court on 8 May 2025, it was stated that Amber had still not visited a dentist to deal with her abscess in her mouth. According to her lawyer, Hughes had gone to the hospital 5 times to get treatment, but that not once was a dentist available to assist her. She also stated that Amber was currently being treated by the prison's medical department and was on a fluid diet as she could not eat solid foods. So, the judge postponed the case for the 3rd time until May 14. Ellie again spoke to media afterward and stated that the continuous postponements are taking an emotional toll on him, and especially Amy, and that she had been too sick to attend court that day. He stated that it was extremely difficult to hear and relive everything every time, and that it was starting to look like it was never going to come to an end. On 14 May 2025, Amber started testifying in her trial. She opened her testimony by saying, "Nada was my everything, my best buddy. We did everything together. I was like mother to her, and she was like my own child." She painted a picture of her being a loving caretaker and explained that she had a very close bond with Nada and that Nada had called her Chamber. She said that on the first day she met Nada, she knew that there was something special about her, and she had first fallen in love with Nada and later fell in love with Ellie. She spoke about her and Ellie's tumultuous relationship, but stated that she never hurt him, herself, or Nada.
Mr. Challita, when you testified that you had become violent at times during this argument?
No. There was only one incident.
Can you describe?
It was around August 2022. Ellie was being unfaithful and we started arguing, and I damaged a few things in and around the house. He became abusive and there was blood everywhere, and it was a bad ordeal. But I never hurt Nada and I never hurt him.
Did you hurt yourself?
No.
Did you threaten the child?
I did. On that day, there was an argument between Ellie and my dad over the phone. I overheard him tell my dad that if he ever wanted to see me alive again, he must come now.
She also stated that she didn't know what had happened to Nada on that day, explaining how she fell over the dog and cut her wrist. She also stated that she was shocked to find Nada face down in the tub, and stated that she had tried to take her out of the bath, but that Nada had been too heavy for her to lift.
After 4, Nada, throughout that day, she was playing with a little small, it was on a key ring, a little doll. It had fluff around its tummy, and she kept saying she wanted to bath the baby. She said, "Chamber, I want to bath baby." And so I ran a bath, I undressed her, and I helped her into the bath. And then I went to sit by the bed. It's right by the bathroom. It's like an ensuite. And I continued speaking to her dad. I started cleaning. Sorry.
You went to sit on the bed?
Yes.
Is this in the main bedroom?
Yes.
Is this normally where she bathed?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I filled the bath a few times. She would say, "Chamber, it's cold." And then I would put some hot water in for her. And then I went to the lounge and I gathered some dishes that we had left behind.
Slow down.
Sorry.
Miss Hughes, how long was the child in the bath when she called you to say that it was cold?
It was maybe 20 minutes.
She stated that she had gotten into the bath with Nada, pulling her onto her lap and splashed some water on Nada's face. She mentioned that Nada still had color in her face at that time. Amber then placed Nada on the step inside the bath in the fetal position, ensuring that her face was out of the water, and went to look for her phone. She says that she also removed her wet pants, which she had gotten into the bath with when she saw Nada face down, as they were hindering her movement. Amber explained that she initially called 10111, the South African number for the police, but stopped because she had to listen to automated options, which she felt wasted time. Instead, she called her father, telling him that Nada needed help, and sent him their address. When asked whether she had told Ellie's friend that she had drowned Nada, Amber claimed he must have misheard her, as she had said she found Nada. She again reiterated that she had never heard Nada. After her initial testimony, the case was then postponed again until 22 May 2025, where Amber would be cross-examined. The state prosecutor highlighted several inconsistencies in Amber's testimony, suggesting that she only called her father to help her out of the predicament that she was in. Amber responded that she had called him because he lived only 15 minutes away and that he would know what to do. When asked why she did not call Ellie, she explained that it would have been pointless as he was hours away in Polokwane and unable to assist. Amber also denied ever telling Ellie that she would burn his heart, and she stated that she only ever said that he broke her heart.
I never said that to Ellie. I never.
That's why you did this.
No.
You're the only one who was with the child.
I loved that child more than anything in the world. I never hurt Nada.
Amber also denied being at home alone for the entire day, stating that their gardener had been there earlier in the morning, a claim that both that gardener and Ellie had refuted, as it was not the day that he was due to work at their house. According to Amber's testimony, she had bled profusely from her hand after falling on the glass bottle when she had so-called tripped over the dog. She claimed to have bled in the bathroom and the tub while trying to get Nada out. However, there was no evidence of blood in the bathroom whatsoever. Amber stated that she had placed Nada on the corner of the bath outside the water in the fetal position, but found her too heavy to lift out of the bath completely. The corner of the bath is outside the water, meaning she would have had to lift Nada out of the water, but then she could have just as well lifted her out of the bath completely. That space was also too small for Nada to fit on, and most damning was that when Ellie's friend arrived, Nada was still floating face down in the water.
When Nada was with me and before Nada left, there was no bruising on her face. I didn't notice any bruises on Nada.
Miss Hughes, I want to put it to you that you drowned the deceased.
No.
Because you wanted to burn Mr. Challita.
No. No. Never.
You also raped her. You penetrated her.
No. I never hurt Nada.
The next day, Amber's father testified and was cross-examined, and shortly after, a ruckus between the two families broke out.
Count your days. Your days are numbered, Gilly.
Try and sell a child to the Nigerians. I've got proof of that. You must be shy to open your mouth.
This is what child rapers and killers looks like. Those two are what child rapers and killers looks like. You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him.
Do you know me, sir?
You should be ashamed of yourself to walk with him, to have children. You have children. Think about what happened. You go put that where the sun doesn't shine.
This fucker.
Yes. Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
You shut your mouth because your daughter fucking raped my child.
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
You want some truth?
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
Yeah, Marissa.
Now I'm gonna put you in jail.
Me?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, you gave it to me. Thank you, you gave it to me. No one threatened you.
Nothing.
No one
You're getting
threatened you.
arrested, buddy.
Thank you.
You're getting arrested.
There you go.
Closing statements in the case were made on June 3, and the judgment was said to take place later in the month. But on July 17, the court reconvened, and it was announced that Amber had appointed new private counsel and had dismissed her legal aid lawyer. Her new lawyer requested a postponement of the judgment to allow time for consultation with their new client. The judge agreed and postponed the judgment until July 24, 2025. This appeared to be another delay tactic from Amber, as the new legal team could potentially reopen the defense's case, further delaying the trial. The judge emphasized that no further extensions would be granted, noting the numerous delays already experienced in the case. The judge also stated that if the new team wished to reopen the defense's case, they needed to file notice before July 24. To everyone's surprise, Amber appeared in court on 24 July with an unexpected revelation. Through her new legal team, she confessed to drowning Nada-Jane.
My intention initially was to plead guilty on the murder. However, due to incidents and occurrences beyond my control, I decided not to plead guilty on the murder. I admit that I've drowned the deceased Nada-Jane Challita, 23 January 2023, by sitting on her, which had the result that she was submerged in the water. I admit that my actions were unlawful and that I had the intention to drown the deceased. I admit that the whole event was triggered by a fight I had with the deceased's father concerning his infidelity, and the final trigger was when he told me that I should stop bombarding him. I admit that after the deceased did not respond, that I left her in the bathtub whilst the cold water tap was left running. I admit that I then went outside and attempted to hang myself, but that I could not find a suitable rope.
In this statement, it was also mentioned that she had tried to take her life 3 times after drowning Nada-Jane. First, she had tried to hang herself, which had failed. Then, she tried to cut her wrist and again tried to hang herself, but could not find a suitable rope. She also stated, "I admit that my actions were unlawful and that I had the intention to drown the deceased. I admit that I suffered a borderline personality disorder at the time when the incident occurred, but I was aware of what I was doing that day."
I've been following this right from the beginning, so you've heard what I've heard. So you're not shocked. So I'm definitely not shocked as well. Oh, she's been pleading innocent for almost 3 years. And then today something changed. So now we might plead innocent about the rape for I don't know how long. But I promise you, eventually it's going to be proven that she did what she done. It was the first thing I said when I got out of the court. The very first sentence I said, we could have started here from the first session. And this could have been over a long time ago. But some people don't want to believe what they do, and they don't want to take responsibility for what they've done. But then it's going to catch up with you sooner or later, as we saw today, I can tell you something. It's not nice for you guys to know, but you want to know how I'm really feeling? I'll tell you how I'm really feeling. Now I know legally that she killed my child. Now I'm waiting to know for how long she tortured her for before she killed her. That's the truth. If that's the actual truth, as is, There was basically no evidence. How could you explain a child raped and murdered when there's only one person in the house? And someone crying, "No, I'm innocent," for 2.5 years. Where's the logic in this? We are human beings. We are not animals. What differentiates us from animals is our consciousness. So we mustn't, we can't fall into those things, like I said, look, you heard for 2.5 years, or she's been innocent in her and whoever's opinion. And today she signed it and she admitted it, So the same thing is going to happen about the counts of rape, in my opinion. My child's safety was not negotiable whatsoever. This is a person that I admit she tricked me. Very well done. I'm not an easy person to trick. She tricked me. This is one of the people, I'm sure you all know what I'm gonna talk about. We used to be driving in the car on the road, and we see a roadkill, whether a cat or whatever it is. She's the person that would turn the face and cover her eyes and cry for 20 minutes and have nightmares about it. She behaved like that. And the next thing, she raped and murdered my child.
I feel a bit of relief, but there's definitely a whole roller coaster of emotions that come with this. There was no doubt about it that it was her. So we are definitely relieved that she has admitted to the first count. We are now hoping that she will admit to the 2 other counts of rape as well. It could have saved us a lot of heartbreak and emotional trauma if she had just come clean from the start. Obviously she hasn't fully come to clean yet, so we're still in the process of going through this. So it's very frustrating. We could have saved us given us a little bit of remorse, if I could say it that way.
On 7 August, they returned to court to submit their arguments on the SA charges and the charges of premeditation.
Is premeditation the only inference that the court can make on the proof phase? And remember, there's no onus on the accused. The state carries the onus throughout. She made the 220 admissions. She admitted to killing the child. That is indeed so. But still, it's the state's duty to prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was premeditation involved.
If one looks at Exhibit F, why on earth would Mr. Challita's tone of concern suddenly change so much that he's so concerned about his daughter? Don't do something stupid, Amber. Don't hurt baby. Don't do this. Are you and baby okay? Are you two fine? You're making things worse. Why on earth would he have sent those messages if she did not utter that threat? And my lord, that is my submission. It's my submission that serves as corroboration for the credibility of Mr. Challita that the accused made that threat. And it's my submission that if the court finds that the accused made that threat, the court must find that there was premeditation.
The judge in the matter stated, "The state said the accused designed and planned to kill the deceased. There is no solid proof of that, and time lapsed in the conversation between the accused and the father of the deceased does not equate to premeditated murder. The court can make an inference that she drowned the child after she stopped communicating with the father, because in her additional admissions, she never told this court when she killed the child. She made the threat to kill the deceased before, and she followed through. That this is premeditated. She lied under oath. She did not kill the child. She committed perjury. This court will accept the credibility of the deceased's father because the accused's credibility is in tatters. She wasted the court's time, putting the deceased's family in this long wait. She changed her defense team, which delayed the matter further. This made all the testimonies irrelevant. She pleaded not guilty. On the SA charges, he conceded to say that forensic pathologist Dr. Histel van Staden found that the injuries in Nada-Jane's backside were chronic, meaning that they happened over time and the charges for that would be dropped. However, the injuries on her front, where bleeding were found, confirmed that Nada suffered the injuries hours before she died. He then stated, "These injuries were made by the accused, as she was the only person with the child that day." Van Staden said the injuries were not more than 12 hours old. No judgment was made on the day, and the case was postponed for judgment to August 28, 2025, leaving the nation and Nada-Jane's grieving family waiting for closure. Outside of the proceedings, Amber's new lawyer was questioned about why Amber initially pled not guilty, and he stated, "The aspects, and I don't want to deal with it in detail, but my instructions is that she was advised that she should plead not guilty and that the probability that she would be convicted is non-existent." Girl, as if.
In the matter between the state and Amber Lee Hughes, my judgment reads as follows. The accused father said he tried to phone the accused, but she was not answering. Mr. Challita was also on his way home and told Mr. Farah to break the gate. Mr. Farah pulled the gate open with a rope tied to his car and rushed into the house. The accused was seated on the floor in front of the sofa on photo 13. Mr. Farah saw a blanket on the sofa and thought that the deceased might be sleeping under it. He lifted it but did not see anyone. Mr. Farah asked the accused where the deceased was, and she replied, "I drowned her in the bath, Marwan." Mr. Challita testified that the accused's last words to him was that, "You broke my heart, I'm going to burn yours." The inference is irresistible that the accused made the threat of burning Mr. Challita's heart and made good of her threat. She did this by running the bath and fill it with sufficient water to achieve her goal. This must have happened immediately after having made the threat to burn Mr. Challita's heart. Then, in respect of count 1, which is the rape of the child by placing an unknown object in her, I adjudicate you not guilty. However, in respect of count 2, which is the rape of the innocent child who was barely 4 years old by placing an unknown object in her, I adjudicate you guilty. Similarly, in respect of count 3, which is premeditated or planned murder, I adjudicate you guilty on the basis that the murder was planned.
I'm not the real victim in here. As much as I am the victim in here, I'm not the real victim in here. The real and initial victim in here is my child that was a human with a name and a character on her own, and she was tortured to death and she was raped.
What does this moment mean for you and your family?
One step on a step ladder after I fell from the top of it. I was on the top of the step ladder. I fell all the way from top to the down on my head. I lost my child. I lost my entire life. And today I'm taking the first step on that same step ladder again, just looking forward. From today, I can say, I can think of looking forward.
Lee Hughes will be returning to court in October for sentencing arguments. She has been found guilty of the premeditated murder of 4-year-old Nada-Jane Challita.
This was not an easy case to talk about. This wasn't just about a heinous crime. It's about Nada-Jane, a little girl who deserved a full life, not a tragic ending. In everything we spoke about today, let's not forget who Nada-Jane was. Joyful, curious, an animal lover, a daughter, a bright spark in everyone that loved her life. May Amber Hughes never see the light of day again. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. If you have any thoughts, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe out there, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye!